Joining us right now, Washington Post national political reporter Robert Costa. Robert, are you still in Iowa?
Good morning from Des Moines.
You're there. All right. So it was the Iowa Freedom Summit, and a whole bunch of possible contenders or very real contenders for the 2016 nomination for the Republican Party were there. Let's first talk about a story you broke over the weekend about Sarah Palin. She told you more than she told the crowd there in Iowa. She told you that she is absolutely, seriously interested in running, but she didn't say that from the stage, did she?
She teased it from the stage. She talked about her interest in combating Secretary Clinton if she runs. She talked about 2016 broadly. I don't think she's ramping up her national political operation. I asked her specifically about that, but she certainly seems to have the idea on her mind.
And what was the audience response to her there as compared to the other potential candidates?
Well, her speech was pretty long, and it was full of lines that a lot of the attendees loved, but I don't think she was the only star per se for a lot of the conservatives there. They like Scott Walker. They like Ben Carson. They thought Donald Trump was a lot of fun. So it was really a ton of speakers and a ton of applause for different people.
All right, now the read that I've seen, and you're reporting and others, is that Scott Walker pretty much wowed the crowd. Was that your sense?
I think Scott Walker definitely brought the energy. He has a reputation for being pretty low-key. He was not. He talked a lot about his battles against the union. That won him some cheers. He talked about his personal faith, his father being a Baptist preacher. He talked about his childhood in Iowa. All that appealed, and it really set Walker apart as someone who's not establishment, but who could maybe win over some establishment support as well as some grassroots activists.
Dr. Ben Carson was one of the speakers as well, and he had one line that got a lot of applause. Listen to this, Robert Costa.
I think whoever wins in 2016, I'm pretty sure it's going to be a Republican. I think they should make it their goal to seal that border within a year.
All right, seal the border. And, of course, the host of this event in Iowa was Representative Steve King, who was very, very fierce on the illegal immigration issue. Was immigration front and center?
Not really. I mean, Walker was one of the most well-received speakers, but he did not mention immigration once. And Steve King certainly did. Ben Carson did. Donald Trump talked about building a wall. But I think a lot of the speakers didn't really embrace King's politics on immigration. There's certainly a conservative view there, but they weren't as hardline as King. I still think that is something that animates voters in Iowa, and if you're trying to win Iowa, you better pay attention to immigration.
All right. Who else, in your estimation, seemed to grab the attention of this largely conservative, is it fair to say evangelical Christian audience?
Pretty much. I would say, I think that's fair. I mean, 60% of the Iowa voters in the Republican caucuses in 2012 defined themselves as evangelical, and I think that crowd was probably about 60-70% evangelical as well. I think Ted Cruz, it's going to be a crowded field, I think, especially on the right flank of things. Ted Cruz really had some lines. He challenged everyone there, especially some of the older faces, to really articulate where have they battled. That was his message. I have battled on immigration. I've battled on the president's health care law. His point was he's in the arena, and without naming any names, I think he sent a message that some of the older names, Huckabee, Santorum, who have run before, Bush and Romney, he thinks he could be a fresh conservative compared to them.
That's a really interesting point, considering, Santorum really came in second place in 2012, but he really hasn't engaged or done much since then. Huckabee, you can say the same thing 2008, other than he's engaged in terms of his television show and radio for a while there. When you talk about, though, those two in particular, Santorum and Huckabee, if it was that much of an evangelical crowd, you'd think that they would have really appealed to that audience. But I haven't seen a whole lot of commentary about the reaction for Santorum and Huckabee.
Well, Santorum was interesting because he didn't just talk about social issues. He talked a lot about what he calls blue-collar populism, blue-collar conservatism, the need to increase manufacturing and help out workers. I think if he runs in 2016, that's going to be central to his message, talking about how to really get the party to appeal to workers. Huckabee, I was with him last night in a Des Moines suburb at a church, Walnut Creek Church, one of these mega churches, and he was good. Huckabee, he's on his book tour, but he has to work it. It's not like just because you won in 2012 or 2008 in Iowa, these Iowa voters, they demand to hear from you again and to hear your new message and see what you can do.
All right, so as important as it is to go there and sort of wow this crowd, there were some who chose not to go. Who were they?
Marco Rubio didn't go. He had meetings with donors in Florida. Jeb Bush did not go. He gave a pretty good speech on Friday, laid out his message on, quote, a right to rise in San Francisco. Mitt Romney, he's closer to making his decision. He did not go. Rand Paul did not go. He was at a Koch brothers event in California.
You say in your estimation that Mitt Romney has not yet fully made his decision. You think, how close is he?
Very close. He's telling people he's going to make a decision in the next couple of weeks. I think Romney wants to run. His aides are telling him to run. I don't think he's bullied out of the race in any sense by Jeb Bush's maneuvers. Jeb Bush has certainly taken some of his donors away, and that's got Romney alarmed and Romney's allies alarmed. But I think at this point, if you had to bet, Romney wants to get in, and he still probably is at least exploring the idea.
And let me just explore one other thing. There was this meeting, allegedly, that took place between Mitt Romney and Jeb Bush. Have you gotten any kind of readout on how that went and what was discussed?
Well, I can confirm that meeting definitely happened on Thursday afternoon in Salt Lake City between Bush and Romney. Bush requested the meeting months ago as part of his due diligence before making a final decision. And, of course, Bush never thought Romney was going to make these moves toward a run, but he kept the meeting. And during the meeting, I think they dodged politics, according to those who are familiar with the conversation. They talked sports, they talked policy, because these two may be the biggest rivals of the 2016 campaign, and they just didn't want to get into detail.
Wow.
So they get together. They've had the planned meeting, and it would suddenly awkward because Romney now might be running. So instead they said, so how about those Patriots?
Yeah,
and that deflated
right. What do you think happened to that football? Yeah.
It's all about what you don't say.
Robert, real fast, a lot of people talking about Carly Fiorina and her speech. She's now relocated to Virginia, kind of a local person now, really coming out of the Commonwealth. How was the reception for her, and did enough people in Iowa even know who she was?
Hardly anyone knew who she was when she took the stage, and she spent about the first 10 minutes talking about her rise from being a secretary at Hewlett-Packard to running the company, and that got some applause. But it was really when she took on Clinton, and she had some red meat rhetoric on Clinton, that's when she started to rev up the crowd. I think that's when she realized that she's in a unique position as a woman candidate, as a Republican, to take on Clinton in a more joking, tough way, and she did.
Yeah, it could be a very interesting and useful tool for the Republicans. She's running, isn't she, Robert Costa?
I think she certainly wants to run, and she seems to be ramping up her own campaign.
All right, Robert Costa, travel
Good
well.
stuff, yeah.
Get out here, get back here before the snow hits.
How
Robert.
cold is it?
I'm going to have breakfast with Rick Perry at Maccabee's, a Jewish deli in Des Moines. So wish me luck.
Better you than us there.
How cold is it in Iowa right now?
It's not as bad as the East Coast, but it's pretty chilly.
All right,
man. Take care. Wear a scarf.